So, you want to start playing World of Warcraft and you're completely overwhelmed by 20 years of expansions, areas, dungeons, add-ons, classes, races, and factions to pick from, and you just don't know where to start? What's the story? What happened with the game? Well, all I can say, sucks to be you. I am Sunshade, and I tried to put myself in the shoes of a new player of World of Warcraft, and I started checking out WoW guides for beginners, and let me tell you, they are either incomplete, extremely long. For example, once I saw this monster, I was so overwhelmed I thought maybe I shouldn't play this game and I kinda already know what's going on. Or there are guides having information that a new player would probably not even understand yet. And by that, I mean most people would assume you know what a tank, healer, DPS, pug, PvP, PvE, NPC, BOE, BOP means, without thinking too much that maybe some new players are actually just really new and have no idea about what all of these words mean. But then again, explaining all of these and lore and how to play and answering all of the beginner question would make for a really long and most likely boring video. So I will try to focus on aspects of the game in short, and I trust that those who need to find out more specific information know how to use Google and type "what does NPC stand for?" On another note, for WoW related stuff rather than using just Google, may I recommend some websites which are linked in the description below, among which are Wowhead, Icy Veins, and the WoW forums. As for this video, please feel free to use the timestamps to jump to areas of interest and skip the stuff that you already know or find boring. So, let's start with World of Warcraft. What is it and how does it work, and what is the story? Well, WoW is an MMORPG set in the fantastic world of Azeroth. It was launched by Blizzard Entertainment, and it has been captivating players worldwide for over 2 decades. It has rich lore and continuous updates in the form of patches and expansions. Now, expansions are major content drops with a new story, new zones and features to the game, and they even introduce new playable characters sometimes. These drop every couple of years. Now, patches are smaller, more frequent content updates introducing new raids, dungeons, and zones, new world quests, and a continuation to the initial campaign that came with the expansion, and also starting new seasons for WoW events, which I will tell you about a little bit later. Patches are also regularly released to address bugs, balance issues, reworks, and smaller content updates. So, what's the story? In short, you have 2 opposing factions. You have the Horde and you have the Alliance, supposedly at war for all time, but in the last couple of expansions they have been helping each other and working together so often to avert various world-ending scenarios that it's not that big of a point anymore. We even have cross-faction guilds now, so yeah. It's all great and friendly. However, if you logged into the game and looked at all the areas and the stories around you and you don't understand anything, well, I have one thing to tell you. Don't try too hard. Sure, if you're a lore enthusiast and want to know all the intricacies of the stories and all that, by all means, search for all the storylines we've been playing through the last 20 years. But in reality, it still won't be the same for you, because it's more of a you had to be there kind of thing. Imagine it like this, and I hope you're old enough to understand the reference. You remember when people in cinemas around the world were sobbing at the end of Furious 7 when the whole scene and the song and the things came up? Well, show that to the new generation who doesn't know what happened. They won't really feel it. Just like a new player in WoW will not really be affected by all the things other players went through with each new expansion and story. So, bottom line, there are 20 years worth of stories into the game, so don't try to absorb all the information in a day or a week. It will just overwhelm you. Most players don't even know the lore and who all the characters are, and some don't really care either. Now, I mentioned some major events earlier which take place, well, on the internet. I present to you WoW competitions. Yes, we have our own version of Nerd Sports, which are streamed live on the official World of Warcraft channels or on streaming platforms and dedicated websites. And the events are, first of all, Race to World First, where the top guilds in the game battle the newest raid bosses on Mythic difficulty as soon as the content becomes available. It's my favorite one to watch as I bask in the misery of others, and I very much enjoy watching these people play almost 24/7 until everything in the raid is dead, but not before heroic split runs and keys and farming everything they can possibly farm on 10 alts endlessly. And then they lose the race because somebody got COVID or the race took longer than expected and they had a real-life job to get back to. My second favorite is Mythic Dungeon International, which also happens every season of the game. It brings together top PvE players in a competitive format where they have to clear high-end Mythic Plus dungeon content as fast as possible and beat the other teams in the speedruns. The strategies and execution and the insane pulls no normal player would consider are really fun to watch. However, it sucks to play Mythic Plus in the period immediately after MDI, like in the actual game, because pugs just seem to think they are also MDI players and just pull the entire dungeon, not looking at comp, lack of coordination, skill, or anything else you might lack in a pug. Everyone's a pro these days. And for the third major event, I present to you Arena World Championship, which I know nearly nothing about, other than the fact that it caters to PvP enthusiasts within the WoW community. The Arena World Championship showcases the best PvP talent in intense 3 vs 3 arena battles. And yeah, that's all I got. Onwards to actually playing the game, shall we? Or maybe not just yet. So, you press the play button and you want to create a character. What do you pick? Well, pick a server. WoW will throw you onto some random new player server. Scratch that. Press the top right button and change the server, unless you want to play with a handful of people and not have too many options. I recommend to go for one of the high population realms. It will be much easier for you to find a guild, friends, crafters, someone to help you kill some monsters when you have trouble, and so on. If you already have friends who play WoW, you should probably pick the same realm they are on. Oh, and you may want to research WoW server class balance and just check whether they're mostly a Horde or Alliance populated realms. Again, go with the majority, they know what they're doing. So, speaking of factions, you now have to pick between Alliance on the left-hand side and the Horde on the right-hand side. As the dynamics of the game have evolved and we can engage in cross-faction and cross-realm play in most cases, the faction you choose doesn't really matter, and you should probably just go with the race that resonates with you the most. Some races, like Pandarans and Evokers, can play for either side, but they can't swap freely between them unless you drop some dime into the shop here. So, your race isn't too impactful in your gameplay, thus I recommend playing the race you like the most, but be warned, not all of them have all the classes available. You can get more detailed information about all the racial abilities by right-clicking the avatars like this. Next, the class you pick. Well, now this is a bigger one. This is the core of your character, and it defines your role and abilities. Within each class, you'll find different specializations, or specs as we call them, ranging from 2 to 4 per class, with most classes just having 3, however. Now, if you want to be a tank, aka the guy who absorbs damage and maintains threat, you should pick a warrior, paladin, death knight, monk, druid, or demon hunter. If you prefer healing, keeping your group alive, and paying back those who messed with you by forgetting to heal them, you should check out the classes that offer healing specs as well, like priests, paladins, shamans, druids, monks, and evokers. And if you just want to pump big numbers and destroy everything around you, you should be a DPS. Now, all classes have at least one DPS spec, but we also have pure DPS classes like mages, hunters, warlocks, and rogues, which are not currently capable of having a tank or healer role, at least when it comes to queuing for content. And then again, you have the split into melee and ranged, influencing your preferred combat distance. Melee classes excel in close quarters combat, engaging enemies up close with weapons like swords and axes. Ranged classes, on the other hand, prefer to keep a distance, utilizing bows, magic, or other ranged weapons. And if you want to know about viability, well, while tier lists and class viability are considerations for the high-end content, it's really essential to emphasize that, especially as a beginner, playing what you enjoy is the most crucial factor. Tier lists become more relevant in top-tier raiding and competitive PvP scenarios, like not even in plus 20, plus 23 keys, you can be any class, any spec. You can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyway, since you're not aiming for world-first performances just yet, I hope, dive into Azeroth with the class that brings you the most joy. And if you want to min-max, that's no problem. When you learn your class and spec a bit better, you can always pay for a race change in the shop for that really small increase. And as a versatile feature, World of Warcraft allows you to swap between specs, adapting your character to different roles. However, keep in mind that changing specs may require adjusting your gear and stats accordingly. This flexibility provides the opportunity to explore different facets of your class, catering to different playstyles. If you want an example, let's take a druid. They have 4 specs, right? They have the tank spec, which is agility based. They have the healer spec, restoration, which is based on intellect. And they have 2 DPS specs, feral druid, again agility, melee combat. And they have the boomkin, the balance spec, which is ranged intellect. So yeah, have gear. If you're gonna play boomkin, don't play boomkin with agility gear. Now that you finally picked all of this, what do? Well, you press play, you get into the game, and start clicking the exclamation marks, which will get you into the quest lines, which eventually lead you to the main cities, which are Stormwind for the Alliance and Orgrimmar for the Horde. Every expansion, we also get a max level sanctuary hub for both factions, which becomes the capital city for that expansion. Such cities are Shatra, Dalaran, Oribos, and now in Dragonflight we have Valdrakken. And there are generally portals from the main city of the Alliance and the Horde to these and to others. Now back to the leveling. While I very much enjoy the leveling process, not everyone is like that, and given that retail WoW mostly focuses on endgame content rather than the leveling experience, it is understandable if you're not super happy with that. But I'll talk to you about it for a little bit as well, and my next video I'll be explaining what to do and how to gear once you reach max level. That's a whole new level of confusion. So, in order to level, you can enjoy the journey and go through every single quest if you want to. Savor the experience, as the game does offer a rich and immersive world filled with lore and hidden treasures. And now, with the area level scaling, you can do this in any of the areas that are not part of the latest expansion. You can level anywhere. Use the micro menu here to go through various options of things that might spark interest. Oh, and there's also a newcomer channel you can ask questions in from helpful guides if there's something you don't understand. I do recommend you completely close the services chat, and if you're on a big realm, maybe move trade chat to a different window when you are in major cities. It's spammy as hell. Other than quests, you can also level up by queuing up to battlegrounds, where you PvP with other players, or you can queue for dungeons, which is probably the fastest way to level, especially if you're a tank or a healer who pretty much gets instant queues. For both of these options, you can queue by pressing I or simply navigating to the micro menu, which will also show you the hotkeys between brackets. Dungeons are my favorite way of leveling up, as you actually do it with a group and not solo. Sometimes people will even be friendly. By the way, since I didn't mention, dungeons are 5-player content consisting of 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS, while raids on the other hand are 10 to 30-man team content for Raid Finder, normal, and heroic difficulty, while mythic raiding is locked at 20 players currently. But I digress, you don't need to know about raids until you get to max level anyway, so I'll explain more about these in the next video. Finding the right guild. You don't have to join a guild, but most of us prefer to, as it is an MMO, so it's kinda based on the collaboration of players. You can check for guilds that might fit your playstyle by searching online, for example on the Blizzard forums, or you can check with the guild finder button in-game. For a beginner, I would recommend a social guild with a medium or large number of players. Engaging with a community of like-minded players not only makes your leveling experience more enjoyable, but it also opens up opportunities for group activities, help, and friendship. Professions. In the game, you can learn 2 primary professions from the following list: herbalism, mining, skinning, known as gathering professions, alchemy, blacksmithing, enchanting, engineering, inscription, jewel crafting, leatherworking, and tailoring, known as crafting professions. Additionally, there are secondary professions like cooking, fishing, and archaeology, which can be pursued alongside your 2 primary choices. What to pick? Well, whatever interests you, but a gathering profession is probably for the best. They're the easiest, you can do them while leveling without impeding your progression, and you generally don't need to buy other things or materials for them. You can always read more about other professions and make an informed decision when you pick one. In order to learn a profession, just ask a guard in a main city for directions and they will mark the trainers on your map. This is also a good way to find the auction house, where you can sell gear you don't need. And all of the stuff you gathered with your professions can also be sold there. Transmog is a big thing in the game lately, so you could make some really nice gold simply by selling gear that's of no interest to you. But for some collector, it might be something they want for a special occasion, who knows. However, you shouldn't need to struggle too much with making gold, as you will naturally have more than enough gold to cover your basic need to get to max level and even have some spare. If you feel like you don't have enough and have real money to spare, you can always use the WoW token. This is an in-game item that can be purchased with real money and then sold for gold on the auction house. And now for the big question, what are add-ons? Add-ons are modifications or extensions to the game's user interface that enhance functionality, provide additional information, or customize the gaming experience. While not strictly necessary, add-ons can significantly improve your gameplay, offering features that cater to specific preferences or content needs. However, many players find add-ons invaluable for streamlining tasks or optimizing performance, and there are various types of add-ons catering to different aspects of the game. Some focus on user interface improvements, while others provide detailed information on character stats, map enhancement, combat assistance, and so on. Are they necessary? No. You can easily play the game without them, especially if you play as a social and don't push high content. When you get to high content, they are still not necessary, but some of them are recommended as they make your life and your group's life much easier. But again, for leveling, not a necessity at all, just quality of life. If you do want to pick some add-ons for your leveling experience, head over to curseforge.com or get the app and search for the most popular over there. For leveling, I can recommend deadly boss mods or bigwigs if you're going to run dungeons, but make sure to activate the low-level content for them, as I think that they're generally set to the latest expansion dungeons and raids. These 2 add-ons are particularly popular for aiding in raid and dungeon encounters by offering timers and alerts for boss mechanics. On the bright side, you don't need both, as they both do pretty much the same thing in different styles. Next, Plater is a nameplate add-on that enhances the default nameplates in the game. It provides more customization options, improved visibility, and additional information about enemies or players. And if you don't like the default, again, go to waygo.io and check out options other players have linked. Now, healers might be interested in add-ons like Grid and Click, Voodoo, or Healbots in order to simplify their healing experience by simply clicking the party or raid frames for healing rather than select the players, which also allows them to have an easier time DPSing the bosses by not swapping targets all the time. I recommend you try all of them out and just see whatever works for you. Don't listen to people, because everybody is stuck with what they like and they prefer for themselves. Just find one that works for you. The same thing goes for your UI. Play what works for you, what makes you play better or what makes you enjoy the game the most. And last but not least, Weak Auras is a versatile add-on that allows players to create custom visual and audio notifications for a wide range of in-game events. It's especially powerful for tracking cooldowns, buffs, debuffs, and other important information tailored to your specific needs, and you don't need to struggle to make any of them. You can just copy and paste the ones other players made if you just head over to wego.io again. Well, this pretty much wraps up what I have been asked by various newbies to the game, and I hope that it answers some questions for at least a few people. And if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll talk about what to do at max level, how to gear up, explain currencies, gear, how to get invited to higher content, and so on. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell, and maybe even visit me on Twitch sometimes. It's right here on the screen. Maybe we can run some keys together when you grow up. Until then, happy leveling and see you next time.